Hey, everyone, welcome to Iron Arena. There's no way the UFC didn't know that Sean Ali losing a rematch against Morab, just 9 months after losing the title, was the most likely outcome. In those 9 months, Sean didn't fight or make any progress to deserve a rematch. This fight was more about marketing than merit. It's one of the most pointless title shots in MMA history. I am Ray, and let's dive into it. Number 9. Dark Ages, Desperation. UFC was slowly dying in the late 1990s. The sport faced bans across many US states, sinking fast. By UFC 29, it was basically in the coffin. They had to sell the promotion to Dana White and friends because they were flat broke. UFC 29 took place in Tokyo as a last-ditch effort to survive by tapping into Japan's hot MMA scene. Tito Ortiz defended his title against local hero Yuki Kondo. Kondo wasn't a bad opponent, but the fight lasted just 2 minutes and was meaningless. This was the final gasp of the original UFC era. After this, UFC stayed away from Japan for 12 years. Kondo lost and never fought in UFC again, but kept competing everywhere else, year after year. Ortiz had another questionable title defense during that run against Ken Shamrock. It was a dark era, but it kept UFC alive and kicking. Number 8. The Dillasher fight. No one saw how pointless this fight really was until later. TJ Dillashaw came out with an arm barely hanging on. He hadn't fought much, just once in 2.5 years. Most of that time he was out for doping issues. He barely won a controversial decision against Sandhagen, but that earned him a title shot. The fight was a mess from the start. TJ injured his shoulder right away, making the fight one-sided and boring. Later, we found out his shoulder had been popping out multiple times during training. That's crazy. He couldn't fully throw his left arm, only light jabs. Sure, he won money, but it felt like selling bad MMA to fans. Not a proud moment for the sport. Number 7. Profits before pride. Title defenses in Pride were extremely rare, just a handful over 68 events. Some were legendary, but others were questionable. One of the worst was when a popular but out-of-shape wrestler got a title shot despite poor recent performances. The champion easily crushed him, and the challenger went on to lose most of his next fights. It was a mismatch that didn't benefit anyone. Number 6. A super unnecessary resurrection. George Masvidal had an incredible year and earned 2 title shots within 1 year against Kamaru Usman, despite losing every round in their first fight. The rematch was pointless. Masvidal took the first fight on short notice but was somewhat prepared. Usman easily won both fights. Afterward, Usman successfully defended his title again, while Masvidal didn't fight anyone else. The rematch ended in a brutal second round, KO marking the end of Masvidal's title run that year. Number 5. Star Destroyer. Darren Till wasn't ready for the Tyrone Woodley fight when it happened. Sure, he had potential and exciting performances in his previous main events, but his win over Stephen Thompson was questionable, and he even missed weight. Despite building some momentum, he wasn't prepared for the championship-level challenge that came his way. The UFC rushed him into that fight to fill a date, but it backfired. Till got crushed, and that loss not only set back his career, but also severely damaged his confidence. What could have been a promising rise was halted far too soon. Number 4. Bisping birthday. Dana White has a soft spot for Michael Bisping, and it shows. After his shocking win over Luke Rockhold, Bisping's first title defense should have been against top contenders, but UFC pushed him to fight Dan Henderson 5 years past their prime rivalry. Henderson was 13th in the rankings, with a losing record. Yet the UFC still booked a fight in Bisping's hometown of Manchester, catering to fan nostalgia rather than logic. It was a fun fight, but meaningless in the grand scheme. Instead of facing real threats like Yoel Romero or Robert Whittaker, Bisping fought GSP a year later. UFC prioritized what Bisping wanted over what the division needed. Number 3. Somehow Covington has returned. Colby Covington's journey to another title shot in 2023 makes zero sense. After a close loss to Kamaru Usman and a dominant win over a washed-up Tyrone Woodley, Covington was given another shot at the welterweight title despite barely being active. His 2022 win over George Masvidal didn't scream title contender, especially after Masvidal's slump. Yet, inexplicably, the UFC gave Covington a fight against Leon Edwards. Why? Because they didn't want Belal Muhammad fighting for the title. Covington's performance? One of the worst title fight showings in UFC history. It's a classic example of UFC matchmaking that favors name value over merit. Number 2. Pat Militic's whole title rank. Pat Militic is undeniably a pioneer in MMA, especially in the U.S., and his gym produced some excellent talent. However, his welterweight title reign is often overshadowed by the mediocre competition he faced. Militic held the title for 3 years, with 4 successful defenses, but he also lost 3 times during his reign. The level of competition was questionable at best. Fighters like George Patino, who had no significant records, and John Alesio, who was too green at the time, were among those he defended against. Militic's most notable defense came against Kenichi Yamamoto, who was simply out of his depth. His reign ended when Carlos Newton, coming back from Pride, claimed the title. While Militic's achievements as a fighter and coach are significant, his title defenses don't reflect the high standards of today's MMA competition. Number 1. Old Man Logjam. Remember when the UFC booked John Jones, the heavyweight champion, after nearly 2 years off, against 42-year-old Stipe Miocic, who had also been off for almost 3 years and was coming off a loss? This happened when there was already an interim champion waiting for a title shot. John still hasn't faced that interim champ or anyone else since then. His title reign has lasted over 830 days, with just 1 fight in it. Now, I'm a massive Stipe Miocic fan. I even gave him his Stone Cold nickname. No one wanted to see Stipe in a title fight more than me, but even I could see that this fight with John didn't make any sense. It was just 2 old fighters facing off for a legacy fight that was really just a cash grab on their legendary names. The Stipe vs. John fight was a painful reminder of how ridiculous some title fights can be. John is known for taking nonsense fights, but this one was next level. UFC booked that Stipe fight under the worst circumstances, and it felt pointless. Thanks for following Iron Arena. Let me know, which of these title fights did you hate the most? Drop a number from 1 to 9 in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more fiery content.
Hey, look, a new subscriber.